Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul Podcast. Today, it's such a special episode because I have one of my favorite people in the world and someone who personally works on/with me for my own personal alignment, and I'm just so excited to have her on. So please welcome Dr. Gabrielle Pajero, my chiropractor. Gabby, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the Spirit and Soul Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor. I really was very touched when you asked me to come and join you to speak about my favorite thing, which is chiropractic.
Yeah, well, I love chatting with you just like in the office and the conversations that we have, and you're just a wealth of knowledge and like so many things. But I really love how you talk about chiropractic and alignment. And before we get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into chiropractic, and all the things?
So I was born and raised in France. And at the time that I was born, my mom was American, but I guess inherently, she always had this way of dealing with health in a very natural way. If we had any health issues, we never really ran to the doctor. I remember her telling me when I was young, the doctors want to take your tonsils away, and I fought really hard for them to stay on because I knew how important they were. So it was just very, she made her own butter, and my grandparents in Hungary, which we went to every summer, had their own farm. And I hope that a lot of that was a big influential factor in how I grew up. Just all nature and normal and unpasteurized and germs were okay and so on and so forth. So then fast forward to my youth, I was introduced to chiropractic through my mom, actually. She had had a bad car accident, and she had gone to a chiropractor after the accident. It was so severe. She was in an Italian sports car, and when she was struck from behind, the seat actually broke. The driver's seat broke, and she ended up in the back of the car. So we're not talking about one of those, doctor, lawyer kind of thing. I don't think she even sued then because that wasn't a thing. She really, truly did it for her health because she really wasn't feeling well. And she'd actually gotten introduced to chiropractic, which I find is unbelievably amazing, when she was in her late 20s, living in France, and had fallen off a horse. And someone had said, you should see a chiropractor in France, which to me is just amazing. So fast forward, we're living in the United States for a short period of time. She has this accident. She sees a chiropractor for the injury that she received from the car accident. And that particular chiropractor was like us. He was a family chiropractor. In other words, he didn't just see auto accident cases and people with spinal injuries. He really was about overall wellness and well-being. He told my mom, do you have any children? They should get checked. My mom brought my sister and I over, and it turned out that I had scoliosis.
Wow.
Scoliosis arises from misalignments. It's really, if you're not misaligned, then you don't have a scoliosis. Yes, there can be an anatomical difference where you have a vertebrae that is actually misshaped. That would be, a structural scoliosis, which is totally unique and very rare. And I've only seen one case in the 28, 29 years of practice. But most often it's just because your spine misaligns, and as your body is trying to balance itself out, it creates an opposing curve because it's starting to lean one way and it wants to go the other way. So I got adjusted, and then my scoliosis resolved itself through the chiropractic adjustments. And then in turn, I went on my merry way. And then later on in life, I was a teenager, and I had the stuff that young girls experience sometimes. Genetically, I was more susceptible to having very, very painful monthly events, debilitating. And at the time, the medical profession, their solution was a very high dose of non-steroidals, Advil, which is coming about. And my mom, again, was like, I just don't think. No, I just don't think. And she brought me back to a different chiropractor who started adjusting me and talked to me about my diet, and then my body again resolved it. So then I'm in school, and I think I want to be in the medical profession, and I'm thinking I want to do something physical, and then I'm thinking, I'll just be a physical therapist. But it was missing something. It was just missing something. And then a friend of mine that I was taking my prerequisites for, because it wasn't jiving. People know it jives. When you know you're going in the right direction, there's no more work to be done. You just flow into that direction. And so as I'm trying to fit the square peg in the round hole and say to myself, no, physical therapy, it's great, that's what I want to do. It wasn't feeling right. And my friend goes, I don't understand. Why aren't you going into chiropractic? because that's what she was going into chiropractic for, and she was doing her prereqs for it. And I just was like, oh, yeah, why not? She goes, I need you to listen to my chiropractor and his talk. And I went in to see him, and I listened to him, and I don't even remember his name, but I'll never forget the talk. Because the talk was about what chiropractic is. And chiropractic is about nervous system function, overall balance, overall well-being, not merely the absence of symptoms, low back pain, neck pain. And that's really what I was hungry for. I wanted to treat people of all ages. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to do something that used my hands because I'm good with my hands. I have this bubbly personality. And then the health aspect just fit right in.
I
just
love
fit right
that.
in. And I never, Tiffany, I'm on the phone with the university that I went to. They accept me on the phone, and my mom is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, no, Mom, it was so easy. It was just so easy, and I never looked back.
That's soul flow. Like I
Yeah.
call that soul flow. Like when you get into that where you're so aligned with a purpose. You know, I'm a believer that we have multiple purposes in our lives, that we don't just have one. I think that's very limiting, right? To think that we just have one, but if you have multiple purposes, like, and you get into alignment with one of them, it's like everything just starts flying at you, and almost like sometimes you have to like run to keep up with it because it's like, all right, let's go. But it's just like excitement. And I love that story that all of a sudden it just like hit. And that was it. Everything just happened.
Yeah, it did. It's just, and it's such a beautiful profession. It has definitely many different avenues, and politics get involved and sometimes try to ruin things. And there are certain people that want to pull it away from really inherently what it's all about. But it always goes back. It always goes back. It's really, if we don't have a nervous system, then there's no chiropractor. But every single human being has a nervous system. And they need to make sure that it's constantly flowing right.
Yeah, and I think right now, nervous system regulation is such like I don't want to say a buzzword, but a buzz phrase. This is something that people are always looking for. I think there's this trend and this push to really understand the nervous system and your own individual nervous system and how things are really being stored in the body, held in the body, because no matter what, would you say that this is true, that your nervous system really affects how you show up in the world on many different levels?
You know, the word that just comes up to me is psychosomatic. So psychosomatic, an example of that would be your little child goes into school and they're so nervous about going to school that all of a sudden they'll say, I have a bellyache, I have a bellyache, I have a bellyache. Do they have a bellyache? Well, to them, they do have a bellyache. Is it an anatomical dysfunction of the stomach? You know, in a medical profession, maybe yes, maybe no. Would there be a test for it? But it's such a mental issue for them. It's such an emotional burden for them that it's transferring into their viscera. And that's the nervous system. That's how the nervous system acts. So chiropractors say that, you know, your nervous system is constantly trying to find a balance. Your spine is constantly trying to fix itself, but it's exposed to many stressors. Physical, which everybody understands. I push you down the stairs, it's going to hurt. And then micro-physical traumas too, like, for example, you know, sitting in traffic for hours. There's chemical, which we have our plethora in the United States, some that we can control and some that we can't, some that is habitual and some that is not, and then emotional. And I have to say, one of the people that comes up to me in my practice is I had this lady who came in, and she was in her 60s. So everybody's going to be like, okay, you know, you're a little bit older. It's kind of understandable that you're going to have issues with your spine and low back pain. But this was beyond low back pain. This woman was, she had no bladder control.
Wow.
So she had stopped drinking water because she was afraid of soiling herself. And as we know, water is key to health. Like, you can't be healthy without water. And so when I did the consult, and she didn't leave the house anymore because she was afraid.
Wow.
So once you don't leave the house, then there's so many other things going on. And so we did her consult. I did her consult, and I found out that within a month, she had lost her husband and she had lost her brother. So what had happened was she'd been working in a nursing home. She slipped on some water in the hallway. She fell on her buttock and compressed her lower back. She was a little heavy set. So all these specialists were telling her that, she was heavy and this is why this was going on. And, and they had treated it this way and that way and whatever. To me, the most important stressor for me that really was something that she needed to acknowledge was the fact that she had lost two very important people in her life too, which as much as the physical slipping was a big change, I think that emotional was maybe even the icing on the cake, the catalyst. All I did was say, I looked at her and I said, I want you to go next door. There was a pharmacy next door, and I want you to get adult diapers. I said, I want you to start drinking as much water as you can. I said, and I want you to come in here every single day we're open.
Wow.
And she did. She did. And then within 2 months, she was driving. And then within 6 months, she went and took herself on that cruise around Manhattan.
Yes.
And then that was it. Her body was back to the way she liked it. And then she found her own purpose and she moved on. And, this was like
Wow.
30 years ago. So hopefully she's still with us. I send her the best of love ever. But it was a beautiful story.
That's
a beautiful
amazing. Story. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So for you, Gabby, when somebody comes in and they, maybe like this woman was presenting with obvious physical pain, but can you kind of see immediately that, okay, as they're telling their story, that more is really going on underneath the surface that's really causing, or maybe not the cause, but a cause of where they are physically, like emotional or mental, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, you get, John and I, my husband, Dr. John and I, we spend a lot of time the first visit because we really want to get to know you as a person. Everybody, 80% of the people that walk into our office are coming in with a musculoskeletal issue. And through the general perception, that's what people are led to believe, that chiropractors help with neck pain and low back pain. The way that I turn that sentence around is the positive side effect of having your spine checked and well aligned helps with neck pain and low back pain. But if you're just looking at chiropractic for neck pain and low back pain, you're missing a huge part of the story. And that's the best part of the story. When I first started practicing in 97, I worked for a gentleman in Monroe, Georgia, who had a predominantly male practice. He was a triathlete. He really didn't see children. It was my first job. I was excited to be offered the opportunity. So I saw a lot of working men. And one of them he was funny. He goes to me, he was in the South, so I'm going to make an accent because I thought it was awesome. I don't know what you did with me, little lady, but my heartburn's gone. And I was like, what? And I was adjusting him. He came in, he was a working guy, his lower back started bothering him. And I knew all the stories, but I hadn't experienced them yet. I was doing practice. And he said he had a box of baking soda in his toolbox, and he would eat it by the teaspoon during the day. And since he started getting adjusted, his heartburn just went away.
That's amazing.
And I was like, and I didn't do it. His body did it. I just helped his nervous system. That's all I did. So,
yeah. Wow.
Because healing comes from within. I don't care how much money you have. Healing comes from within. So.
Agreed. I mean, that's what we're doing here too, really, is working on from within. And it's I think that honestly the part that people miss is in I guess my own experience through spirit and soul and through the healing work that I do is that I think a lot of times they just think it's this energetic work, and it's no, the missing part is that your most dense layer of your energetic field is your physical body. And your physical body is, for when I'm looking at it, it's the home to your soul. It's the reason that you can be here. And we have to really learn to take care of that. And I think for a long time, that's something that I neglected as well. And then I started to really turn that around. And once I did, things started shifting for me in my life in a major way. Forget about even just my physical body, but when I started to come in to see you, everything for me started to make more sense because I was bringing in all of the pieces. It was the physical body part was the part that I was missing, I think, from it all. And I think that's something that people really, they almost like neglect. And I love what you said. It's like, yeah, you know, like people think like, oh, it's just like this, you know, skeletal muscular thing. It's like, no, there's so much more.
So much more.
So can you tell us?
Like there's stuff you can't explain, you know, like just to use you because it just happened.
Please, yeah.
I've been checking Tiffany. She's a beautiful spine. So chiropractors, we call the nervous system is really what the brain uses to talk to the entire body. So it's two things. It's an extension cord, which is inside your spine. And then it's the thinner wires that are called nerves that come out at every single spinal level from your atlas, the very top, all the way down to your last lumbar. And they send the messages from your brain to your body, and then your body talks back to your brain. And that is balance, ease, everything's flowing, everything's happy. 70% of that communication is an unconscious event. Only 30% of it you are aware of, and it's motor and sensory. Everybody experienced during COVID, you couldn't smell, you couldn't taste. You know, that's sensory. You can't hear, you can't move, or pain. That's sensory. But, you know, there are so many more aspects of what's going on in your body. You have no conscious awareness of. For goodness sakes, we eat breakfast or any meal, and our body turns it into the same thing. No matter what we eat, it turns into a simple sugar that your body assimilates into energy, and then it does that. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter, you know, it's always going to do that. So that energy, that brain-to-body connection, chiropractors call that innate energy. It's like your internal God. And so you always want to make sure that your spine is well aligned, because as your spine goes out of alignment, it interferes with those nerves that are very, very sensitive to pressure, extremely sensitive to pressure. And there's so much research out there showing the importance of a properly aligned spine. A lot of it is not even chiropractically done. It's amazing how it's in other professions that they show the merit of having that proper nervous system flow. You go in as a chiropractor and you determine where that vertebrae is out of alignment, impinging upon that system of communication, which we call a subluxation, and then you resolve that misalignment into aligning it, whichever technique you choose. Many people have gone to different chiropractors. Some chiropractors use very soft technique. Other chiropractors use what would be called more osseous techniques. But irrelevant, you figure out where that person is subluxated. Through the years of me practicing, I've just seen some really beautiful things. One of the things, which was, I've been checking you for months now, almost a year, maybe over a year.
Yeah.
And your body's always very welcoming to getting adjusted. It shouldn't be a forceful thing. A lot of times when Dr. John and I feel your body resisting, there's a reason. There's a reason it's resisting, and I'm not going to be the one to think better, because I have to take in consideration what your body's telling me. So I'm just going to be, and I always say it, you'll see, next time you come in and get adjusted, your body's just going to be more accepting. Or I say it moves like butter.
Yeah.
It's gonna move. And so there was that one time, just last week,
Yeah.
your body was busy. You were busy. You were mentally busy. You had a lot on your plate. And it was for the first time since I started checking your spine. And I looked at you and I said, your spine is saying no today.
Yeah.
And then the next time you came in, I was like, oh my gosh.
It cracked
oh my gosh.
so loud.
It adjusted
So loud.
well. Yeah, it adjusted so well. So, but you know, I've had my hands go places, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, do you have a kidney infection? Oh my God, I do. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I don't know if it's your body and my body connecting. I've had give people adjustments, and their emotions just, you know, in their face, women have cried. People have just been like, they take a big deep breath in, and they just feel like this sense of ease and calm and energy. And the chiropractors call it the power's on. Just
The power's on.
The power's
I love
on.
that.
But one thing that did happen last year, which I just think is amazing. I have this young girl. She just started kindergarten. She might be in first grade now. Her name is Amelia. She's wellness. I only want to see wellness if I had a choice. Why? I want to help everybody, but to have someone be well and then want to maintain wellness through chiropractic is just such a gift. It's such a beautiful thing. But, you know, obviously you have to be introduced to chiropractic, and many times you're not well. You have that dis-ease, which is lack of ease.
Yeah.
Disease, that's what disease is, lack of ease. So she'd been coming in for wellness, and maybe she had a couple of vertebrae out. She ended up having a really nasty virus. Her parents said she's been battling a very nasty virus. She had a very high fever, and her very, very top vertebra, atlas, which is a very important part of your nervous system. I mean, there are chiropractors. This is so powerful right here that there are some chiropractors, this is all that they check.
Wow.
And then your body will be able to fix underneath. Her atlas was never an issue. It was just, if it was so easily well aligned. So she was not well. She was not feeling well, and her parents wanted her to come in for her immune system, of course, which is controlled by your nervous system. So when you're sick, yes, you want to get adjusted. And her atlas was wrong. Tiffany, it was wrong. Like, I never felt it like that in her ever. And it was actually one of the worst misalignments of an atlas I'd felt in a young child in many years.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, is it the virus? Is the virus doing this to her? And it was extremely uncomfortable for her. Her whole body, her whole body was fighting this virus. It's not, you can't break apart your body. Your body's the sum of all your parts. You're all together. It's not just this that's wrong. It's all of this that's wrong. And her atlas wouldn't stay. It just wouldn't stay. It was almost like fighting us. And then her body got over the virus. And then she came back, and her atlas was fine.
Wow.
It was fine. It just stayed in.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I'm almost 30 years doing this, and that's the first time that ever happened to me.
So interesting.
And I thought to myself, because I'm constantly learning. We're constantly learning. And I thought to myself, that was her innate intelligence expressing itself that way. I wasn't meant to fight it. I was meant to support it. And I needed to change my way of thinking to align itself with what her body was doing and what he needed from me.
Wow. So it's almost like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like the body really does it's almost like sometimes it has to be misaligned in order to find alignment. Is that what was happening there, so that the body could support itself?
So what'll happen is, especially in children, because children they don't have a pattern. When you get into adulthood, then sometimes your misalignments can be a little bit of a pattern, and you'll find yourself going to your chiropractor, and your chiropractor is constantly sinking to the same area that's always subluxated. But children don't have that. So when we check a child for wellness, we'll check them, we'll realign them, and then they'll very often stay in alignment. And then sometimes they'll have a little cyclical thing. But remember, children are exposed to a lot of chemicals at a very young age.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's a lot to process. So sometimes we'll see things that happen. In adulthood, I tell people sometimes I'll be adjusting them, and I'll say, something's different. Something's different in your spine. What's going on? And it's either something different good or it's something different bad. And very often I'm under a lot of stress, is what I hear lately. I'm under a lot of stress. So, I have to say that sometimes I feel I can actually consciously and very assertively say, I believe, having practiced as long as I have, that this has so much more influence on this than anything else.
So the mind and the brain has so much more influence over the body.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. That it's just, I have these people who come in for wellness, and their spine is just fine. It just needs a little bit of guidance and a few adjustments. And we check you on a regular basis because your body's constantly exposed to stressors. But then all of a sudden, when it's just so different, most of the time it's because they're going through mental stress.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the mind is such a powerful tool in creating the reality, right? So if the mind is saying, I'm stressed, they're probably going to feel it a lot, and I'm going to tell a story right now that's really interesting, but they're probably going to feel it in their heart, is where we feel a lot of the stress in our heart and in our minds. But, and then they probably, I say cracked, right? They crack a lot in that space, in that heart space.
They adjust,
You're like, they adjust, it's not crack.
Yeah, because I didn't go to crack school. No, they have different misalignments. Sometimes it's in their upper thoracic area, absolutely related to your heart and your lung area, absolutely. It's I can't really say, because of the way that I practice, I'm a huge fan of the sacrum, which is that big, huge bone between the pelvis and the atlas, because structurally, the sacrum and the atlas, when they're well aligned, their motion is life. And energy, motion, and physical motion, it's all life. And so the atlas and the sacrum are moving through the respiration and motion, and they create a wave pool. And they bathe the cerebral spinal fluid goes all over your spinal cord, and you have these little fibers called meninges, and actually networking chiropractic is big on that, where your spinal column will be twisted,
or
and
like spinal spinal energetics,
exactly
too.
your spinal energetic, and that's where you're helping with those meninges. So it's to me, I'm constantly saying to myself, if I can balance their sacrum and their atlas, and then everything else is just it's a plus, and then I'll go in and then I'll realign that. But I find myself that women have a tendency to carry their stress here.
In their heart, yeah, for sure.
A lot of women are starting to have, but things are changing. Things have changed. I started practicing in the late 90s, and then, there have been some changes that have been happening through the population. Since the pandemic, things have changed.
Is it more
health.
root, you think, or more lower, like sacrum area?
It's different. We're getting different. It's just different. Things are different. It's actually very exciting for me as a chiropractor, because I think chiropractic is a profession that's been around for over 100 years in the modern world, and even more so before, because you're talking about the Aborigines used to do walkabouts, and they would manipulate their spines to help their body work well. And Aristotle has this famous quote that chiropractors love to quote, which is "Seek to the spine for health." But I find that there's a movement. There was an awakening that happened, where people finally realized, to be healthy, I have to take responsibility.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
To do this myself. No, and chiropractors have been saying healing comes from within. Healing comes from within, but that within is you. That's you. That's your responsibility. We tell little kids, when you get a cut and you put Neosporin and a Band-Aid on it, that keeps it clean, but it's from the inside out that you heal. It's always from the inside out that you heal. So they say above down, inside out. That's what chiropractors say. And that's, and so I feel that there's this huge awakening now. People are coming into the office more now saying, I want to be healthy, and I want chiropractic to be part of my health habits.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's beautiful, right? So you have that saying, and in the spiritual space, it's as above, so below, as within, so without, right? Yeah. And it's the same, right? It really is. It's like whatever's going on inside is going to be what you see on the outside, and that's just that. So I want to tell you my story, very interesting. I came in one day and I saw Dr. John. And Dr. John was, I was talking to him, and he's like, oh, what's going on? I just have like a lot of stress. And really, I came in, I had a very heavy heart that day. Like I had a lot of things going on, but I had some, whatever it was, just some things happening. And I remember feeling in my heart the energy of like, ugh, right? And, I laid, actually two things. So I laid down. And he adjusted me, and where did the loudest crack of all that Dr. John was like, whoa, was in my heart. And I was like, I'm not surprised by that there. And then there was another time, and I don't remember if it was the same day, it might have been, where I was like, because you know me, and I don't care, I'm an open book about sharing, but like I have a lot of like lower back. I'm like lower neck, right? Makes sense, right? For the balance, that's what you taught me. Yeah. And so I remember one day I came in and it was like hips and like low back, and Dr. John put me on the blocks. So that was the first time I ever did that, and where it was hitting me, and I think I even did an Instagram story about it because I remember some of you guys commenting on it. Wherever the block was sitting, it was like actually sitting like a little bit on my bone. I was there. It wasn't uncomfortable, but I was sitting there and I was laying there and I'm like, trying, like breathing into it. And then all of a sudden I just started crying. Like I just started like letting go. And I was like, obviously something was stored there, right? That needed to be released in this way.
Yeah.
And Dr. John comes to check on me and he's like, you okay? I'm like, just having an emotional release. I'm good.
What did he say?
He's like, all right, you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. I really needed this. I'm not done crying yet. I'm going to go cry in the car.
Oh my God.
He's like, okay.
That's so awesome.
But
no.
I needed it. And my low back felt so good after that.
Yeah, it's so different.
So good. So it really brought out that like emotion and just showing that like all of these layers, right? Because this is, you know, what I'm very into, like the energetic portion of it outside as well. It's like, you know, there was something obviously emotional that made its way down and was manifesting through that lower area and that, you know, that sacral root chakra. And then it just unleashed with that. And like, it felt so good. And my heart, like I remember everything just eased after that, you know, it just like, that's where it was manifesting through. So it's just amazing.
It's like you have clarity in your mind too. Like there was this cloud over you and you just felt, you know, like just you were pushed down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, I mean, I have one mom, she was under a tremendous amount of you know, stress, like everybody is. And she had her two sons were with her. They had just gotten checked because moms always go last. And she got adjusted, and I adjusted her upper cervicals, and they released. And she just took a deep breath, and she just started crying. And I you know, I felt really privileged to be there for her to just, you know, have this experience for herself. But her boys picked on her, and she was awesome. She looked at her, she goes, "Shut up, let me have my moment." She was just so cute. She was just so cute.
I love that.
It is. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. It's you know, I always say the worst thing you can do to a chiropractor is to put them on an island without them being able to get their spines checked.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just it's been such a blessing, and I, you know, I really I can't see myself having done anything better for myself. And as far as my career is concerned, I really never thought that chiropractic was going to be able to do what it did for me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Healing really is. It's such a privilege to be able to hold space like that.
And you see it, like we see children, little ones, little itty bitties, like 2, 3, 4 days old. Parents will bring us their children, and then we see animals too, and they don't hide how they respond to a chiropractic adjustment. They literally just go. They just. There's tense, and then there's relaxed, you know, and then there's the eye contact, and then there's the happiness, and the animals, they just, you know, you see, like we have one young lady, Nancy, she brought her dog, and his hearing came back. I was like, John, that was my husband, full credit to him. And the dog doesn't like me. I try to adjust him. The dog doesn't like me. And we don't have that energy. And I was like, oh my, I was like so happy for her. I was so happy.
So wait, I have to tell you something funny. So my kids just came to see Dr. Gabby, and you know, we were talking, and we're on like the family plan, and I missed the part where you were like, even your pets. Actually, I didn't miss it. I thought you were joking. And they're like, no, she's serious. I'm like, she's not serious. We're not bringing cannoli in. And then you're sitting here saying that they were right. Okay.
Cannoli can come in. Cannoli can come in. Absolutely. Cannoli has a nervous system. You know, there are horses getting adjusted. There are race horses getting adjusted. You know, there's that chiropractor that I love on Instagram. He's checking giraffes and elephants.
I know
and
who you're talking about. Too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they have a nervous system. They have a spine. They have vertebrae. You know, and if they're out of alignment, they're out. There was a gentleman that when I first started practicing, it was actually my second practice. He had a dachshund, you know, the wiener dogs?
The little wiener dog.
Yeah, and he was coming in to get adjusted, and you could tell he was physically upset. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And he goes, my dachshund is having a really hard time walking, which is a very common problem for those kind of dogs because of the way that their physique is. And my veterinarian gave me a bill, and I can't afford it. I can't afford to have my dog treated through the veterinarian. And I was finishing my first year of practice. I'm like, bring him in. And I'm like, I don't know, I'll just see. You know, I had my, actually I should tell you this, I had my chiropractic miracle, because every chiropractor has their chiropractic miracle. And so he brought the dog in, and I just did what, I'd learned, because I had taken an animal adjusting class while I was in chiropractic school, and I wasn't extremely proficient about it, but I found subluxations, and I very gently realigned him, and he was fine. He was fine. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that was cool.
That's amazing.
It was the coolest thing ever.
That's so cool.
It was really neat. So every chiropractor has their chiropractic miracle. Dr. John has his, which is really wonderful. He had chronic bronchitis in his 20s, got adjusted. His body never expressed chronic bronchitis ever again. I obviously had been adjusted throughout my life on and off, but to me it was nothing, there was no miracle there. My scoliosis being gone, I was like, whatever. My menstrual cramping being less, I was like, whatever. I had adopted a male cat, while I was in chiropractic school. I just loved them. Everybody loves their animals. And he ended up getting chronic UTIs. I was a student. Everybody knows students have no money, like literally no money. I had a little apartment, and his UTIs were causing him to urinate blood all over my apartment, and he was miserable. So I would take him to the emergency veterinary clinic. A couple $100 later, he would get an antibiotic. I would go home. I would torture him, giving it to him, and then he would be okay for a little while, and then again, he would have a urinary tract infection, and then I would go back, and then I spoke to my friend, and I was like, I can't afford this. I don't know what I'm going to do, and I can't handle how my apartment is getting soiled. My heart was broken. And she goes to me, I think his name was Dr. Singer. Dr. Singer, who was a professor at our chiropractic university, he adjusts animals. I go, he does? She goes, and I think he only charges $10. I go, are you serious? So I called his office, and his staff scheduled the cat. I did not get adjusted, the cat. I brought him in a cat carrier. He asked me to bring a towel, and he actually used me as the source for diagnosing the cat. So I had the cat on my lap, and he had me do the resistance, where I would put my hand on the cat's spine, and he would find where the weakness was, and he adjusted the cat, and it was simple. I took the cat home. I had a square apartment with a tiny little hallway where it was the bedroom, the main room, and the bathroom. He fell asleep in that little square area for 12 hours and did not move. And he never had a urinary tract infection ever again. And that's my chiropractic miracle. That's when I was like, it works.
Amazing.
Is that crazy?
I love that.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
The cat was just... That was it. Yeah.
The block. And then that was it.
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, I love all these stories. I love all of your stories. This is so fun. But it's just amazing to see how the body, the physical body, like really works, like how it works within, and it's like just affects everything in and it's animals too, it's like that one block, it's just gone, and then you're fine.
Yeah, and you're good. It's so hard because we're so taught with allopathic, we're so taught with Western medicine is so like, you have an ailment, which is disease. You are given a name. As soon as the name is given, your responsibility is taken away. I have high blood pressure. I have diabetes. I have type 2. I have whatever I have. So that diagnosis takes away the responsibility, because then from the diagnosis there's a treatment, and so it's either treatment or surgery, But what happens when it doesn't fall under that? And I love the moms who come in, obviously wanting wellness for their children, obviously, and they say, I just went to the walk-in, he's coming in to get adjusted because he still has a fever and he doesn't feel well, we want to boost his immune system, but I just want to let you know, he was tested for COVID, flu A, flu B, and strep, and he doesn't have either one of those. So I go, okay, so he was tested for the ones you can test for. And he still has some bacteria or virus, most likely virus, and his body needs to work through it. So let's cater to this child's nervous system and his immune system, and let's get him adjusted, and then go home and just, offer him, those nutrients and that rest and peace and quiet. And, No one's expected to heal of a physical ailment or anything, and in just chaos and loudness and just negative. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. That's why I always tell people, when you go to a hospital, have them do what they need to do, then go home. Go home. And they know that. Hospitals know that because you heal better at home.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
grounded. Your nervous system is grounded. Your immune system. If you tomorrow decide to buy yourself the house of your dream and you move in, you will most likely be sick or not feel well the first few weeks to a month of you moving into your new environment.
Tell me more.
Your immune system, your nervous system has to adapt to where you spend most of your time. That's why college kids get so sick. Everything changes for them. They are not living where they used to live. They're not eating the food that they used to eat. They're not around the people they are around. So I always tell the parents, your kid's going to get sick. Your kid's going to get sick. Let's get them adjusted before they go. Pack as many vitamins as you can. Guide them as much as you can and let them experience.
Wow.
And then they're going to experience.
Wow. And then once you adjust, then you're...
Yeah, and once you adjust, your children most likely will be sick the first semester, sometimes the first year, and then after that, their body will get into a routine, and all of a sudden they'll be good.
Wow.
They'll be good. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. Anytime you change, like people come in. I love this because it happens most of the time. They wake up and they have sometimes it's called torticollis. You can't move your neck, or their spine goes out of alignment. They'll have that sciatic pain, and they'll come in and be like, Dr. Gabby, you don't understand. I'm going on vacation in a week. And I look at them and I go, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine because you're going to go on vacation. So you're leaving all that stress behind.
Yeah.
And your body's going to be distracted. Your nervous system's going to be distracted and everything. And they come back, oh my God, I had such a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they vacated their
Yeah.
life. That's a vacation, isn't it?
So it's so funny the way things happen. And we want to put it all on a book, and we want to be able to write it all down and know exactly. But there's just so much fun in guessing, and so much fun in awakening to the fact of, oh my gosh, this is why this happened.
Yeah.
This is why, my body did this, my body did that.
Yeah. And in the subconscious world that I also study, it's it's really making the unfamiliar familiar, right? So whenever anything is unfamiliar, it's going to feel like I'm going back to your about going into the new home. That's so interesting because no matter where if you go do anything that is unfamiliar, everything is going to fight back on you because it doesn't know, your nervous system doesn't know if you're safe.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and so the mind doesn't know if you're safe. So it's whoa, relax. We don't know if we want this. And then it's oh no, we're safe. Okay, we're good. Get better now. Feel better.
No, it's true. It's true. And then there's so many times we don't want to listen. And then,
because we want to barrel through.
Yeah. Well, because society says, just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep
For
going.
sure. For sure.
So, yeah.
There's one thing I just want to touch on before we end this amazing, amazing conversation. But there was, I think it was when I came back from all of my travel back in September into October. And you had said something to me that I found really interesting, and I would love for you to share it with everybody if you remember what it was.
I don't remember. So
I know, I'm going to tell you.
No, it's good,
no.
It's good.
You had said to me, well, I said, why, with my lower back, is there something that I can do to help? And you were like, Tiff, it's just because you give so much, and because you give so much, this is basically where it's manifesting for me.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think, this audience is a lot of women, right? A lot of women listeners in general. And I think that that's a huge thing for women, is that we're constantly giving, and then you can elevate that by different, careers and things like that, like I do, and a lot of women do that listen to this. So what is that? What does that look like? And how does that manifest in, you can use my body as an example.
So it's very common. It's a conversation I have with a lot of moms. They come in a state of crisis a lot. So what's a state of crisis? Well, no, they're not coming in hysterically, No, their body is in a state of crisis. They're not well. They're not feeling well. And a lot of times they actually are very strong, and they, they come in and they're like, I just don't feel good. Just, check me. And then you can tell that their body is just has that resistance, that there's something going on. And they're just either more subluxated or subluxated differently, and this is my talk to the moms. No one is going to take care of mom. When mom falls down, or whomever that mom role is in the household falls down, the whole house falls down. And when you are giving and giving and giving and giving of yourself emotionally, physically, time-wise, you are depleting your battery. You're depleting your battery. Your nervous system is, that to me, that's your battery.
Yeah.
And so I always tell women, you have to be selfish. If you're not selfish, and I use the word, and it sounds shocking maybe to some people, but I really don't care. You have to be selfish. It's self-preservation, really, that's what it is. And I look at moms and I say, you have to find that thing. Every woman has that thing. Every person has that thing that brings them that tingle, right? You have that tingle. And where's the tingle? Right
in your
where
heart.
You said. It's right there. That gives you back, even talking about it, I'm getting the tingle. That gives you back that energy, whether it is reading a book, watching a show, hanging out with your friends, going on vacation. Obviously something that you can do on a daily basis. I tell people, maybe meditate, maybe go for a walk. I'm a walker. I love to walk. I'll just keep walking and walking and walking and walking. And that's the way that I re-energize myself. And because if you don't have that, then you're going to create these areas in your body that are just, they're stuck, and you're just constantly, you're not going to feel, you're going to feel the same. It's going to feel that same, usually negative, same. And you had depleted yourself so much, and your weak space was in the lower part of your core, and that's, what's what you were expressing.
Yeah.
So, and that's that balance. That's all the balance.
Yeah, I think about that all the time because, I go in and I go in to see Dr. Gabby and Dr. John in their office. They are in Sayville and Long Island for our local listeners. And I go in, and I started going because a friend of mine also went and is a very good friend of Gabby. And she, had said, you really, you should go. And so I started going. And it really has truly changed my life. And I think I've learned so much about the body, and also just like incorporating the things I knew about energy and how I see it, in the body. And like that statement really stuck with me. It's like how I give. So now I know, like, I go in at least twice a week myself. But then if I know that I'm going away, or I know I'm going to be doing like a lot of travel, I am making sure like that is my non-negotiable before I go. And I'm at least going in 2 to 3 times that week. And also when I come back immediately when I come back, I'm there because you said that, and I was like, okay, I have to make sure that I do this because I also need to come back and function. I need to come back and feel good.
Yes.
And I have to be good when I go and do these things. So it just really stuck with me. So Gabby, I just want to say thank you so much for everything you've done for me in my own life, my family, everybody, and just the work that you're doing in the world. You're a healer, and you're amazing at what you do. And so is Dr. John, amazing. You guys are really incredible. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with?
I wish I was a healer. I'm not a healer. I'm an instrument for healing, because healing really truly does come from within.
Yeah.
It really does come from within. And I am blessed that chiropractic just fell into my lap, and I'm blessed that so many people trust myself, Dr. John, the profession, with keeping people healthy and happy. Chiropractic is a way of life. You just add it to all the other beautiful, wonderful things that you do for yourself. And I thank you so much for inviting me, because it's just such a pleasure being with you and talking, and you teaching me too. So it's just been a real blessing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys, listen. If you are on Long Island, you need to make an appointment. Okay, obviously, you just heard this conversation. So make sure, Dr. Gabby, your Instagram handle.
We're Pojero Family Chiropractic.
All right, so Pojero Family Chiropractic on Instagram. You guys see me tag them all the time also, but make sure that you head on over, give them a follow, look at all the amazing things that they do, book your appointment. You're taking new patients, right? Are
Yes,
you?
yeah.
Okay.
And actually, my daughter has officially taken over our Instagram. My husband and I have a tendency to be a little
Yay.
behind, so
Oh.
she's having a lot of fun with it.
Oh, I'm going to
So,
talk to her.
yeah.
I've been having lots of ideas. Okay. New conversation
yes.
beginning now.
So she's really cute, though. She and my son have rolled their eyes for years, and we're like, just take it over.
I love it.
Yeah, the future chiropractors, by the way, they're both
Okay.
supposedly they've accepted they're going to go to chiropractic school.
I love that.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
All right, guys, I want to hear from you. So make sure that you head on over to Spirit and Soul Studio on Instagram and tell me what your biggest takeaway was. I will send everything over to Gabby. And also, you can just follow them and let her know as well. And thank you guys so much for joining us on this really special episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast. I'll see you on the next episode.